PAX is like my second Christmas, man. I got friends who are into games like I am, but PAX is that one special time of year where I can go somewhere and everybody's on the same page. Everybody there is a fan, an enthusiast. They're all there because they love games. Speaking of, there were a lot of interesting games at PAX West this year.
Try not to get us killed on the way there.
Of course, we've got Devil May Cry 5 coming out next year. I'm looking forward to all the kick-ass music, anime cool dudes, and ludicrous, over-the-top, flashy violence. I've never been too into Devil May Cry as a franchise, but having gotten more acquainted with character action games through Bayonetta these past few years, I feel that I'm much better educated on the finesse of the combat system than I used to be. And I'd say that now I am wholly invested in the idea of beating down demons with two halves of a motorcycle. Mega Man 11 just dropped a pretty slick demo showing off Blockman's stage, and as somebody who's never really had much more than a casual interest in Mega Man, I can say for sure that this one feels a lot more up my alley. The controls feel just that little bit tighter and more responsive, the new gear system actually adds to the gameplay in a way that isn't too gimmicky, and generally there's a lot of nice little quality of life changes here, like the weapon quick select. $30 may be asking a little too much for this kind of game, but if the rest of the game is this good, then I'm probably going to pick it up anyway. I am incredibly excited for Smash Ultimate, but I didn't even bother getting in line for that. Lines that long with only like 2 displays at an event like this? Are you kidding me, Nintendo? Are you kidding me? Do I really need to explain why I'm excited for this one? It's a rhythm game set to Persona 5's soundtrack. There, I just explained why. Go on then, I'm jamming out here. Send boring back to nowhere.
Persona 5, Dancing in Starlight.
Really though, I don't come to PAX for the big games. I'm gonna hear about all the mainstream stuff one way or another at some point anyway, so I focus on it. I'm here for indie games, baby. Unique standouts and hidden gems in a sea of basic bitches. First up, we got Pizza Titan Ultra. It's like a cross between Blastcore, Crazy Taxi, and Samurai Pizza Cats. You play as a giant transforming pizzeria mech, and you go around delivering pizza by punching it into penthouse apartments and haphazardly slapping toppings on them. Just accept it. It's got a tongue-in-cheek story and characters, and some cool customization options on top of that. Plus, I'm really digging this cel-shaded PS2 era graphics aesthetic. Definitely a keeper. Fork Parker's Crunch-Out is a tycoon game made for the Super Nintendo, made to raise awareness about game dev crunch and the problems that come with it. You have to keep your employees fed and awake with fast food and coffee and the occasional stun gun, and manage your profit margins right in order to churn out crowd-pleasing dreck. Also, it has a limited edition cartridge that does this. So that's good. Here's another game to add to the growing subgenre of people doing normal things, but also it's cyberpunk. First, we had a game about being a bartender, but it was cyberpunk. Then one about being a freelance journalist, but it's cyberpunk. And now, you can experience what it's like to be an Uber driver in a city you don't know, with all the fun of barely scraping by and not knowing where you'll go to sleep that night. But it's cyberpunk. In all seriousness, NeoCab is an interesting looking little branching narrative stroke resource management type game. I really loved Valhalla, and this seems like it's going to have a similar brand of storytelling. I'll definitely have to check this one out again. World of Horror is a survival adventure game with turn-based combat and storytelling and visuals inspired by Junji Ito. It was definitely a standout amongst everything else this year. The game was made entirely by one guy in Game Maker Studio, and all of this detailed art was made in MS Paint. I was really impressed by the demo at PAX and how much it actually managed to creep me out. It didn't get quite into scaring me, but I could easily see it getting there. And I am really looking forward to playing this again. If partly just to figure out what the story was all about. I didn't think I would ever see an RPG that looked even more basic than West of Loathing. And I mean that in the best of ways. Stone Story is an action RPG with visuals made entirely out of text, which means you're basically watching the game's code play out in front of you. The look alone makes Stone Story worth paying attention to, but it looks as though it may have an intriguing plot on top of that, and the combat may look simple, but nonetheless feels pretty engaging. I could definitely see this being one of those games I play late into the night, just waiting to see what happens next. A really inventive idea, and I'm hoping that it lives up to the excitement that it's put in me. UFO 50 is a collection of 50 different NES-style games put together by a handful of different indie devs, but headed up by Mossmouth, the people behind Spelunky. There's a lot of variety on display here, and the graphics and music and everything else put into the presentation makes everything feel like it's under a unified aesthetic, but still each thing feels distinct from each other. And again, a lot of variety. There's platformers, flying games, puzzle games, side-scrolling beat-em-ups, and RPGs, and even stuff that doesn't look distinctly like any one thing from the NES's library. Basically, it's looking up to be a lot like Action 52, but just not shit. In the ever-expanding games market, it becomes harder and harder for new games to stand out from each other. Unique aesthetics and gameplay are one thing, but what really helps nowadays is a good name. And in the ongoing battle for my attention, Get in the Car, Loser is definitely an eye-catcher. It's a game that, according to this official promo art they handed out at PAX, styles itself as, and I quote, a lesbian road trip RPG by the co-creator of Lady Killer in a Bind about fighting for love and justice in the face of indifference and discovering yourself. Whatever the fuck that means. Do I have your attention? The combat system seems pretty simple as far as RPGs go, but character abilities and equipment loads seem as though it'll give it more depth as it goes on. The game is half battling and half chatting it up with your squad while you're rolling down the highway on a road trip in what is clearly Wario's convertible. They stole it. It's hard to show off an in-depth demo for something like an RPG at PAX, but I liked what I saw, and I'll definitely be keeping my eye on this one because it might just turn out to be something really special. Here we have another one-person labor of love. Save Me Mr. Taco is a super endearing and well overdue homage to the original Game Boy, like what we've seen for the NES with Shovel Knight and the Sega Genesis with Freedom Planet. It takes a lot of ideas from classics like Mario, Wario, and definitely Metroid, but it still feels like it's its own unique thing. The aesthetic is really cute and charming, and just the whole thing in general has this very friendly, welcoming feeling to it. But the story also promises to be a darker tale of an innocent octopus just trying to resolve conflict amid war, and not make enemies of anybody, because he just wants everyone to get along. Also, there's power-up hats. I don't really know what else to say about this one. I'm definitely really, really hoping that I can play it soon. What the Golf is a game where everything is golf. Play golf with a house. Play golf with 50 balls. Play golf in super house. It's super creative and just as dumb as I could hope for with a premise like this. It's full of ideas and a joy to play, and I cannot wait to play it again and own it on every platform I can possibly own it on, which is hopefully a lot.
And now for something completely different.
When our heroes came to and couldn't find Nugget, they knew what they had to do.
Super Meat Boy Forever is about as true a sequel to Super Meat Boy as it can be without just being more Meat Boy. While the overall design has changed a lot to accommodate the new always running gameplay, at its core, it still feels very Meat Boy. The difficulty, the tight controls, and simple yet nuanced moveset feels wonderfully natural and welcoming to someone like me, who has played more Meat Boy than I can keep track of, or would care to admit even if I could. Plus, having Meat Boy and Bandage Girl team up to save their kid together is a great way to escalate their relationship as characters and to one-up the first game's simple yet effective story. It may be a different beast, but it came from the same butcher shop.
This motherfucking legendary piece of cold-rolled amazing was forged in the most sacred elements of video game development. Mechs, explosions, and overly dramatic voice acting. Ladies, gentlemen, holy fucking shit. May I present to you From Software's 2004 Masterclass in Democratic Mech Warfare, Metal Wolf Chaos!
Devolver is a company who only earns more of my respect every time they put something out. But this sealed the deal for me. Metal Wolf Chaos XD. They've got some serious chutzpah for even thinking about re-releasing this, let alone actually doing it. I don't even care how good this remaster turns out to be in reality, because I know it will still be pure entertainment. The hilarious political satire, the cheesy voice acting, and, the fact that it's about the President of the United States fighting off enemy forces in a giant mech suit, for God's sake. We need more dumb games like this, and more companies like Devolver willing to take risks and celebrate stuff like this. But among all these gems, there was still one that I was the most excited for.
Take one more step, and you're dead.
It's too late.
Now you're screwed, old man. You wanna play? Let's play.
Bring it.
When Nintendo dropped this trailer, my hype levels went through the roof. Not only was No More Heroes coming back, but Suda51 was back in the lead director's seat on a project for the first time in years. Leap forward to now, and I'm still excited, but not without some concerns. First, we learned that the game isn't really No More Heroes 3, but rather a spin-off with a completely different gameplay style. Okay then. Then we learned that the game will supposedly have 7 completely different playstyles throughout, and be possible to control with just one Joy-Con, meaning probably pretty simple controls. Okay, sure. And of all those different playstyles they promise us, we've still only seen one, and it looks like a simplified top-down No More Heroes. Add to that the fact that the game has been delayed until January of next year, and that they haven't been really vocal about that release date, and it's been hard to stay excited. But excited I am. I know it won't be No More Heroes like I expected and wanted it to be. But with Nintendo backing it as hard as they have been, though they could have still done better in some places, and one of the maddest, most inventive creators in the modern gaming industry behind it all, I'm not sure how good it will turn out to be, but I know that it's still going to be really cool, and odds are, it's still gonna end up rocking my world. Hey everybody, and thanks for watching. If you stick around to the end, I really appreciate it. This was my first real edited, proper, big fancy, big boy YouTuber video. As you can tell by this screenshot that is on the screen right now. Future me is putting that on the screen, and future me is probably also putting this over some Garfield the Search for Pookie footage, because that's just the kind of guy he is, and I can relate. It's like 2:30 in the morning as I record this, and I have spent like 3 days editing this together. I had this idea for a little bit, but I procrastinate on it, and I know that I'm pretty late to the party talking about PAX, but I went and I had a really good time, and there's a lot of games I wanted to talk about, and this seemed like a good stepping stone to really put myself out there and start making the kind of content I've wanted to for a while. So I don't want to jinx anything, but yeah, this was supposed to be my start into making bigger content, stuff like this, stuff on like current stuff going on in games and reviews and lists and stuff like that. And yeah, I hope that whatever happens with that anyone who watched this, all you, I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun making it, even if it took like literally 3 days to just edit it. And I think it turned out alright. Obviously I just started, but whatever. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll catch you all next time, which is hopefully soon. Thanks a lot for tuning in. See you guys later. Have a good night.